I did the math. I did the mathematics. I've been in a mathematics degree program through the college university, and I did the math. I've actually been studying Korean now for 13 years. 13 fucking years, man. I've been studying Korean. That is correct. Korean as a second language, KSL. You often hear about folks studying English as a second language, ESL. I taught English, math, and science in a Korean private school as a private school instructor for 10 years, off and on. And I was a college honor student. Since my early days of college, I've actually been studying Korean as a second language. Dabble in a little German and a little Korean. Oh, I'm sorry, little Russian is what I meant to say. A lot of Korean, little bit of Russian here and there is what I meant. Korean is interesting, man, because the feds, that is the NSA and the Council of and on less commonly taught languages, they're called less commonly taught languages. Less commonly taught languages are languages that one doesn't ordinarily see in, say, like junior high school, middle school, high school, and like undergraduate programs at, say, like community colleges. If you attend a community college, chances are there probably isn't a fucking class on, well, maybe now. But back some 15, 20, 25 years ago, you wouldn't see too many courses on Korean. You wouldn't see too many courses on Arabic. You wouldn't see too many courses on Chinese. They just weren't available. They were, historically, less commonly taught languages. LCTLs. There is actually an advisory group, committee, council within the U.S. intelligence agency that monitors less commonly taught languages. They are also considered level 3, the number after 2, level 3 priority target languages, because they're languages that, again, are less commonly taught. Most folks don't learn in America. And even if one studies the language, it takes so long to become proficient. Korean, I believe, there are something like 10,000 hours on the average to like 10 fucking thousand, man. 10 fucking thousand hours involved. If you got 10,000 hours, man, outside work or, taking a break on the job to learn Korean, I've had to use software, man. I used to sell foreign language software, and I was a top salesperson for that company. And I was actually the top salesperson in my region at the time. I've used Rosetta Stone. Version 4 is great. I was a beta tester for version 3. I actually was a beta tester for version 3, the number after 2. Version 4 is, it's great. I used it just recently. I haven't been with the Rosetta Stone, man, for like, same amount of time, roughly about 14, going on 15 years. Left on good terms after I was a top salesperson, the top salesperson in my region. That is, I sold more software than anyone else did in my region at that time. And so I was a beta tester. I was invited to become a beta tester. Beta tested version 3. Version 3, in my opinion, back in the day, it was slow. Version 4 that just rolled out recently is fucking great. So looking at the 8 dialects of Korean, Korean is not easy for most folks. So yeah, man, a lot of Korean, a little Russian. I mean, I've studied a lot of Russian too, but Russian, man, is difficult. Like for some people, like any language, there's always going to be someone who picks up on the language just like that. They get it, and it just all makes sense, and they can just like, work with it, figure it out. They automatically grasp the concepts and the subject matter and the principles and all the inner workings and all the intricacies and the nuances, the intonation, the inflection, like they've got it down, right? So that hasn't been Russian for me. I can pronounce anything in Cyrillic. Like, if I see Cyrillic, I can sound it out. I don't know what it means. It's the same thing with Korean. Anything in Hangul, anything that is written in Hangul, anything, I can sound it out phonetically, but I don't necessarily know what it means. I can try to deduce what it is, but I don't know always 100%. That's not my level of proficiency currently. But in terms of Russian, anything in Russian, I can read Cyrillic, and it's a pretty good approximation. I mean, I've even used Google Translate. I speak it into Google, and Google's like, yes, that is correct. And I'm like, all right, so I can pronounce it. I mean, my Russian is better than my German, man, currently. Korean, because of the different dialects, 8 dialects. A lot of people don't know that, man. They don't know that Korean has different dialects. I mean, you would think, right? But the fact that it has 8 different dialects, one of the issues with Korean that I've encountered, and I've actually written some papers on the subject for academia, one of the things is the way that native speakers of Korean who write books for non-native speakers to learn, one of the issues, man, is when they translate the Hangul into Roman letters, that is, when they Romanize the Hangul, the way it's Romanized doesn't make any kind of sense, mostly to non-native speakers. That's one of the major issues. Like, I could teach first-year Korean right now because I took first-year Korean like over a decade ago. First-year Korean is very basic to me now. So before, it was very difficult, but now that I've studied intermediate Korean and am at an intermediate to advanced level, not more advanced, but definitely intermediate going into advanced, because, man, it's been 13 years. I may not be like 100% conversational, but I do know a little grammar, more so than I did before. And also, there are a lot of things, a lot of knowledge gaps that I had that have been filled in. Like things that I used to wonder about and that mystified and perplexed and like puzzled me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I see that pattern now. Shit where like I could explain it to you in fucking a fraction of the time that it took me to figure it out. Like shit that like I would see that because I didn't want to ask anybody. Like, yo, is this polite or is this impolite? Like, and keep in mind, there are 8 different dialects of Korean. Not only are there 8 different dialects of Korean, but every one of those is going to be Romanized a different way. If you know what I'm talking about, what I'm saying is like, imagine that like you're told that there's Korean, but then you find out that there's 8 different types of Korean, which there are. And then for each one of those 8 different types, there are different ways that people will Romanize each one. So, for example, if you have like Hwanghae, right? If you look at the Hwanghae dialect, anyone who speaks the Hwanghae dialect of Korean and writes a book for non-native speakers, that is those who are not native speakers of Korean and Hwanghae, anyone who writes a book and then says, oh, well, if it's for English, so this is Hangul, let me Romanize it this way because then people who speak English will understand it. No, not necessarily, man, because when they convert Hangul over into English, that is Romanized letters, sometimes it's some really bizarre looking shit where you're like, yo, I hear the sounds they're making that are incongruent with the letters that I'm seeing. Like, the letters that I'm seeing are incongruent with the sounds that I'm hearing the speaker, the native speaker of Korean, pronounce, enunciate, and thus utter, speak. So, like, you'll hear a K sound, right? You'll hear a K sound, like it's clearly a K, like a K sound, right? But the letter will be G, as in like golf, like golf, right? And it's not K. It's supposed to be K, but the letter is a G. You'll see that a lot. That's one example. That's one simple example of what I'm referring to. So you're dealing with 8 dialects of Korean, and each one of those dialects can be transcribed, that is Romanized many different ways. So there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of different iterations of Korean. And then you have to find like a middle ground. You have to think like, okay, well, what's the most common? Seoul? Like Seoul dialect? Like, okay, but even with Seoul dialect, you're going to have translators, transcribers, people translate it differently depending on who they are. And when you look at the English like romanization of it, you're like, what the fuck is this shit? This doesn't even make any fucking sense. Like, I'm using this program right now. I won't name the name of the app company, but the app company, they start their words with 2 fucking consonants. Like, I'll give you an example, KK. Like, why not just have 1 fucking K? They don't pronounce the K sound 2 times. It's not like k. You don't say k, right? It's just like, let's just say the word is Komun. This is just random. Let's say the word is Komun, right? Komun as in November. Komun, okay? Well, when you go to pronounce it, you're going to say, or when you pronounce it, you're going to say Komun. And when the native speaker pronounces it, the native speaker is going to say Komun. But if you fucking type Komun, you're wrong. And the system's like, you're wrong. Because you're supposed to type 2 fucking Ks. Why pronounce 2 Ks if you're only pronouncing 1? So that's what I'm saying is you'll have people who are native speakers of Korean and they'll translate the shit into English, and there's shit that doesn't make fucking sense in the English sense of it all. Because in English, when you see 2 Ks together at the beginning of a word, which are 2 consonants, you're going to be like, what? You know, you're like stumbling like, Komun? It's not Komun, it's Komun. So just drop the fucking first K, make it 1 fucking K, okay? And so, you know, it confuses people. So imagine if you're not an intermediate student of Korean like I am. Imagine if you're just starting and you don't even know that there are 8 fucking dialects. Not every book that you get, that you pick up from the bookstore, tells you that there are 8 different dialects. If you don't Google it, if you don't look it up, if you believe the college text, like the college textbook that I have from my first year of Korean doesn't even fucking tell, and the shit was like $150, doesn't even tell you that there are 8 dialects. I had to figure that shit out on my own. And I have Korean 1 and Korean 2. I'm level 3. I just finished level 3. Actually, I'm level 4 now. Korean. So you can buy over $1,000 worth of books and still not know the shit that you need to get to the intermediate level unless you really take the time, spend the time. And quite frankly, man, I had to use software in addition to like books, because if you use books, I met this Korean woman once, man, this senior, and we happened to be on the subway, and she's like, oh, you're studying Korean? And I was like, yes. She was like, I've been in America for 20 years, and I still don't know English the way that I ought to. She said, for a language such as Korean, it can take a non-native speaker up to 20 years to become somewhat proficient. You know what I mean? There's some people that pick it up like that, but like 98% of people are not going to pick it up like that. And even if you study it for as long as I have, man, there's still a lot of shit that I don't know about Korean. And I've studied Korean, man, for days, weeks, months, years, like around the clock as a second language. So I'm just saying, man, today's lesson, brought to you by One Sir Grove. Today's Korean lesson, Korean is a second language, KSL, Korean as a second language. Today's Korean is a second language lesson, brought to you by One Sir Grove, OSGOE. Under 15 minutes, man. Think about it. Think about it.